What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to tell you the story and the explanation about the time I took a gun charge for somebody else. Usually, shit like this doesn't happen. I mean, usually in the criminal world, no one ever, steps up and takes a charge for another man. I mean, usually it's the opposite. They're pointing the finger at the other guy, saying it was him. He did everything. He's the fucking mastermind. He forced me. But in my case, things were a little bit different. So this story goes back to the times, obviously, before I was in prison and I was on the streets. It was a crazy time for me. I was going through so much, psychologically and emotionally, and I was facing already, nearly life in prison while I was out. So I was out on multiple bails at that time, and, I was being watched and I was under constant surveillance, and I knew that shit was going down. I mean, what I mean by that is I knew that my world as I knew it was coming to an end in one way or another, either with death or prison. And neither one seemed like a really good option for me. Back to the story. I was arrested one night. I was ambushed on a highway. Okay, very near my house. So at the time, I was living alone. I had my girl who was, still with me, my wife now, and the mother of my children. But things were just so bad during that time, and there was such craziness going on, such ruthless, fucked up people around me, doing dirt with me or for me, and I just didn't want her around that. So during that time in life, shit was that bad that I kept her away and told her we can't even live together because I'm not comfortable with you even being around. Not only me, but the fucking shady ass characters that are around me in these days. So it was me, who ultimately ended up being my co-defendant in a lot of these cases, and who was my driver at the time. So it was three guys, three of us. I know it's going to sound funny that I had a driver back then, but that's the way it was. I always preferred to sit in the back of the car and preferred not to drive. I had a real nice big black Benz that I brought over from California, and I would never, ever drive. All right? On this particular night, for some reason, I decided to drive. It's so outside of my character during those times, and the two guys that are with me, the fuck, you're going to drive? You've never driven. You've never said that. They didn't understand why. I didn't understand why either. But I believe that was divine intervention, because had I not made the decision to drive that night, I don't think any one of us would have survived. We'd have been dead. So we get in the car, we leave, we get on a highway, and as we get onto the highway, I see police lights behind me. One car. And I tell these guys, don't worry. It's just routine stop. Don't worry about it. We all have guns on us. I'm sorry, the driver didn't have a gun on him. He had no business having guns. Me and the other guy did. And we had shit in the car that we shouldn't have had also. So as I pull over, I see that the guy doesn't get out of the car. And everything at this moment now happened very quickly, but in my mind and in my recollection, went into like slow motion. I remember everything with specific details. And all of a sudden, as I'm watching my rear view, this one, both rear view mirrors and in front, I'm looking around, seeing what the fuck's happening. I'm still telling these guys, stay calm, don't do anything stupid, don't worry. All of a sudden, I see simultaneously fucking cars coming from everywhere, all blacked out, from every side of the highway, not only on my side, but there's a divider, okay, a concrete divider in the middle of this highway, but also coming from the other side. So they're coming on both sides of this highway, everywhere, ambushing me. As I'm seeing these cars happening, I'm also seeing where they happen to pull me over was close to a car dealership, literally like right in front of a car dealership that was on that highway with a bunch of cars there. The whole thing was a setup. It was orchestrated to happen in this place. So as I'm seeing all these cars, I see also these fucking blacked out, masked up SWAT team guys running that were all hiding in place there behind those cars, running at me with fucking machine guns. I'm surrounded now. And in that moment, I remember the car was still in gear. Okay, I had my foot on the brake. And it all just flashed before me. And I'm thinking to myself, if I move this car even one fucking inch, these guys are gonna light me up so fucking bad. Not just me, all of us. They're gonna fucking light us up and leave us with hundreds of fucking rounds in us. Just like that, in a split second. And in that moment, I decided that it wasn't right for me, and I did not have the power to make that decision for these guys, because they're gonna fucking die here with me if I move. And I put the car in park. I got out of the, they came and surrounded me, all these machine guns on me. I put my hands up and I told them, there's a loaded 9mm in my waistband as they took me out of the car. Just because I knew what the fuck could have happened. We get arrested. Funny part of that story, that gun that I had, that 9, actually had a custom laser built onto it. And I'll never forget, these fucking cops, after they put me in the fucking back of a police car, they're all over and they're all looking at my gun, pointing it with the laser, turning the laser on and pointing it everywhere, showing each other like it's a fucking game. So they made light of it and they were having fun with the gun. Nevertheless, give you a little backstory on the driver. This guy was a friend of mine, okay, for a couple of years at that time. We knew each other through other friends for even longer. He was never from the street kind of shit. He had a good family, he had a good life. He'd never been in trouble as a juvenile, never went down. And he always had this way of wanting to impress me. He was a really good dude, and I trusted him. But I never wanted him to cross that line. And he always begged me, please, Hollywood, let me go with you guys, man. Let me get in on this. Let me make some money. Let me do this. And I always kept him out. I told him, listen, man, just stay the fuck out of this. Please, this shit is not for you. Please, man, don't think that this shit is fucking cool, that I'm happy about what the fuck my life is. I'm not. So I went out of my way to try to help him and keep him out of this shit. Now he's in this fucking car with us, and he gets arrested with us. We get taken down to a police station. We're put in 3 different holding cells, and I remember, the driver was Arabic, the other guy is Cuban, the co-defendant. So I'm screaming to this one in Spanish, and I'm screaming to this one in Arabic, trying to tell them what the fuck to do if one of them should get out first, to go back to the house and take the shit out, move this, do this, contact my girl, let her know this, all kinds of shit. They didn't let us out, nonetheless. They ended up going to my house right after that happened, getting a warrant on the phone from a judge, and ransacking my house and fucking destroying it. Ripping shit up. They found a bunch of other shit. They found, I think, 5 or 6 guns in the house, bunch of contraband. So my charges were going to be long in this. In that process, the driver, again, because he drives me, he comes to my house first, and he has his own car. We don't go in his car, we go in my car. His car is parked right in front of my house. Okay? The cops have no legal right to go in that car. They had no search warrant for their car. But they went in, they broke the window, and they took out a gun from underneath the seat. Their justification for doing that is saying that it was visible to us. All right? So if a cop pulls you guys over and he doesn't have a warrant to search and you refuse him that permission to search your car, technically there are 2 ways he can bypass that. He can say, I smell marijuana, which most of them do, if marijuana is illegal where you are, or he'll say, I saw contraband within my eyesight. That's all he has to say. He saw it. So if he saw something, a gun, drugs, anything illegal, that bypasses his necessity of the warrant. He doesn't need a warrant, now he can go in. Anyway, they get the gun from him, and they charge him with this gun. All right? Now, this took a lot of time to play out and stuff, but immediately after, we were in county jail probably a couple days after the arrest happened. And I saw, all right, they put the 3 of us in the same unit. So I remember, I went and I took a shower because I was fucked up being in the fucking holding cell in the police station for a couple days, and got settled, and I came out and I called the Cuban guy and I looked and I asked So where's the other guy? I don't want to give the guys names here. So he was still in his cell, right? Which I was on another part of the tier that I was on. And I realized, all right, I saw him try to step out, and I realized that this guy is not fucking built for this. And I told my other friend, I was like, man, look at him. He's not fucking built for this. This is not for him, and it's fucked up. This shit's gonna ruin him psychologically and emotionally. It's gonna destroy him. This guy cannot fucking do time. Me and the other guy are very much alike. We've been fucked up and put in cages since we were young. So he and I understand what the fuck it is to be built for that, to be able to stand that and not be destroyed by it. Even though I'm the first to admit I was, and still am, very fucked up because of all this shit that happened to me, especially as a child. But I told, the Cuban guy, I can't let him fucking do this, man. He can't. This is going to destroy his life. And I made the decision right there, and I told him, listen, man, I'm going to take the weight for him. This guy said, you're fucking crazy, man. Nobody would do that shit for you. Nevertheless, as time passed and the charges came, he got out on bail. I don't think I was allowed a bail at that time. I'm confused. I've been on so many fucking bails and so many charges and so much bullshit. But I was still in county jail at the time, and I spoke to my lawyer. Okay, so I had an attorney. I spoke to the attorney, and I told him what my intentions were, and he told me, you're fucking nuts. I did end up bailing out after some time, and I met with the lawyer in person, and I told him. And I restated that I was going to take the charge for him. He said, you're fucking crazy. He said, it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I've never heard anybody fucking say this to me before. You're paying me all this fucking money to get you out of prison and less than the amount of time you're going to be exposed to. And here you are telling me you're going to take a fucking gun charge that has mandatory prison time associated with it because you have others. And I told him, yeah, basically, you don't need to fucking worry about that. You do what the fuck I tell you. I fucking pay you. You're my fucking employee. All right? I appreciate your advice. Do what the fuck I tell you. Call the prosecutor. Call the attorney general. Tell them what I said. That gun was mine. I wrote a written statement, submitted it, gave it. And the reason I did this, guys, is first because of what I told you, how I saw him in jail for that little short time. Really fucked up. Second, because I always went out of my way to try to keep this guy out of that shit, and he didn't need to be in that thing. But the most important reason was because he had a girlfriend who was recently pregnant, right? So she was like a couple months pregnant at the time, and I realized that decision, the decision I'm making to take this fucking charge for him, will change this man's life in so many ways. Not only his life, the lives of his family, the relationships that he's going to have in the future, the life of the girlfriend, and most importantly, the life of that little child. So being that I had all this other shit already, in my mind I'm thinking, man, fuck it. I'm already done. I already got so many guns already, so many other charges already. What the fuck's the difference? I'm fucking finished. I'm finished. Why should I let somebody else's life be destroyed? Yeah, he fucked up. He shouldn't have had that gun. I didn't know he had that gun. But I know the reason why he had that gun. And I took blame for it. It's my fault. I was that much of a fucking negative influence on this guy, even though I was trying to keep him from that and shelter him from that shit. It's my fault. And I took the charge. And I ended up, ultimately, fortunately for me, because I had so many charges, and for those of you that are interested, I explain the whole thing and go into detail as to what happened, how it concluded. But long story short, I had so much shit on me that kind of got absorbed in it in one of my sentences. At the end of the day, I got sentenced to a total of 20 years, but it was broken down into, I think, 3 or 4 different sentences. The longest was like a 7 that I had to do, but they were all run retroactively, all run concurrently. It was an amazing fucking deal that I got, and unbelievable that I was able to pull that off. It was a fucking blessing and a miracle that I'm even out here free. I don't regret my decision. However, that guy, many, many years later, ended up fucking me over also. on some unrelated thing. Nothing, huge, nothing personal, but in my eyes, he fucked me over a little bit. And even with that, I don't regret what I did. I don't regret it. I still think it was the right thing. So some of you guys might think I'm fucking crazy for doing what I did, but in my mind, both back then and now, it made the most sense. So I hope you guys like this story. Just some random thing I remembered and I thought I'd share. I'll talk to you next time.